A team that people are overlooking is the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. Is a team that finished 7-6 last year, and they are looking to make some more noise in the Big Ten. I think that this team has underrated talent, and I think they could surprise a lot of people heading into the 2025 season. Now, last year, like I said, 7-6, lots of changes that occurred, and lots of interesting things that transpired with Rutgers. You have a quarterback that seems to have solidified himself. You have talent at the running back position that I think really showed that this is one of the deeper groups in college football. And the defense goes through a bit of transition. You bring in a number of transfers, and you also have returning talent that could make this group better. And under Greg Schiano, you're going to expect things to improve if you want to have sustained success. The offense, though, is really where you're looking for the most improvement. And a lot of that hinges on Ethan Kaliakmanis' shoulders. This is a guy who comes in from Minnesota, starts for Rutgers, and has a decent year. Over 2,600 yards, 18 touchdowns. His completion percentage was at 53.9%. So you'd like to see him complete some more of his passes, be a little bit more accurate, because he is going to have some interesting wide receivers, some interesting targets. And he also has a very deep backfield. Honestly, this is one of the deeper backfields in college football. Antoine Raymond is set to be a star for this team. I think that he is going to have a big year, and that's even in a very deep group. You also bring in CJ Campbell. That was kind of a surprise because you already had Antoine Raymond. You also had Samuel Brown and Jayshon Benjamin. You had three guys that were set, and you bring in another player that is going to play a big role. Now, the curious thing that I'll have is, how do they utilize CJ Campbell? Do they use him purely as a running back, or are they going to use him as a pass catching player as well? Because he had 466 yards last year at FAU. He also had 3 touchdowns. So is he truly the second running back option, or are they just trying to utilize him as a potential another wide receiver that's lining up as a running back? Either way, this is a group that's going to be really fun. Raymond's going to be really good. Campbell's really explosive, really exciting. Samuel Brown's a solid player, only played 5 games last year, and Benjamin only played 4. So if they're healthy, that's maybe why you bring in Campbell, is that they didn't play for the entire year, and they bring good depth. But what happens if one of them goes down, or both of them goes down this year? CJ Campbell is a good piece to have, but again, that was kind of a surprise to bring him in. Regardless, though, that gives you another weapon to utilize, and that's really exciting if you're a Rutgers fan. The wide receiver position, I think, is just looking for depth, but the starters appear to be pretty set. Ian Strong had a solid year for this team, 676 yards, 5 touchdowns. KJ Duff, 425 yards, 1 touchdown. You bring in DT Sheffield from North Texas, who had 822 yards and 11 scores. That makes Kaliakmanis' job so much easier. Now, Ben Black is probably the one depth piece that they do have for sure, but you're looking for more guys to step up. Kenny Fletcher will be an interesting player, only played 6 games last year at tight end, but if you can get more depth to set up, or if Fletcher is truly able to be that 4th or 5th best option, then your quarterback's going to be better. Your offense is going to take strides. And this is a group that finished 92nd. I think they can do way better than that. The talent that they have returning should allow them to be really good. The running backs allow for potential balance. It's just going to come down to that passing attack. And Kaliakmanis, I think, has the tools to do it. I think it's just a matter of getting him comfortable and getting him confident in his abilities. The offensive line feels like it's really good. I think you do have an honorable mention all Big Ten player in Kwabena Asamoah. You also have 2 intriguing tackles with Taj White and Tyler Needham. Those are the guys that are going to play a huge role in this team's success. Obviously, the offensive line dictates a lot of what the offense will do, especially with this rushing attack. And this is a rushing attack that finished 45th. That's a unit that can also be better. The rushing attack can improve, and the offensive line will play a huge role in that. But overall, if you can find some balance with this group, and you have the potential to do it, this will be a really fun offense to watch. I think that this could be one of the more exciting offenses in the Big Ten if everything clicks. The rushing attack is too deep not to be good, and the wide receivers, at least the starters, have lots of potential as well. Now, the defense is looking to improve as well. I don't think Graciano was happy with the performance from his team last year. You do lose a number of key pieces. You know, a big guy like Aaron Lewis is going to be missed, but that's why you bring in someone like Eric O'Neill. The James Madison transfer had 52 tackles last year, 19 tackles for loss, 13 sacks. He is a Big Ten playmaker that will have an instant impact. When you lose someone of the caliber of Lewis, you are looking to replace him and potentially improve. And Eric O'Neill has the ability to take that step. I thought that was a really nice addition. O'Neill could have gone to a number of schools, chooses Rutgers over many others, and he is someone to keep an eye on. The defensive end position feels deep. Bradley Weaver comes in from Ohio, another guy who was productive, 44 tackles, 15 tackles for loss, 8.5 sacks, 3 forced fumbles. The thing is, he's going to have to hold off some of the guys behind him. Jordan Walker and Jordan Thompson will be part of this rotation. So O'Neill and Weaver could be those two guys. Weaver's position is probably more up for grabs than O'Neill's is, but they're going to need a break every once in a while. So it'll be fun to see how they are utilized, how they rotate guys in, and who's going to be the most productive. But the defensive end position is in a really good place. Now, defensive tackle is probably where you maybe have more concerns, but overall, I think that there are still plenty to like about this group. Keyshawn Griffin had 12 tackles last year, 2 tackles for loss, 1 sack. You bring in Doug Blue Eli from USF. He is someone that is hopefully going to take a step forward in his production. You also have another James Madison transfer in Daryl Denoji, 28 tackles, 6 tackles for loss, 1 sack. So that defensive line position, the defensive end position, the defensive tackles, the defensive line overall is just going to be a really good group. I think that is a deep group. I think they are a very talented group, and that's how you start things off. You dictate the pace, you dictate the physicality of the games that you'll play because your defensive line is set. Now, the guys that benefit the most from that are going to be the linebackers. Moses Walker is back, 31 tackles. We'll see what he can do in a more prominent role. Abram Wright is another guy that could rotate in. But the big guy you're going to pay attention to is Dario Jabome, 105 tackles, 8 tackles for loss, 3.5 sacks. Just a natural playmaker. You'd like to see him make less plays, but at the same time, if your defensive line is being disruptive and he's getting near the line of scrimmage and getting those tackles, it all depends on where he's making those plays. If he's making them behind the line of scrimmage or at the line of scrimmage, you feel good. But if you're getting those 3, 4, 5 yards downfield, maybe you have a little bit more of a problem to deal with. But this is a group that I think, at least up front, is in a good position. They have the ability to get better. And it'll be fun to see how this group plays. Again, that defensive line is going to be really fun to watch. The secondary, you bring in some transfers that make things really interesting, but you do return some key pieces as well. Bo Masco is back, 50 tackles last year, 5 passes defended, 1 interception. Opposite of him is going to be Marshall transfer Jacoby Henderson, 50 tackles for him, 10 passes defended, 2 interceptions for the Thundering Herd. You also bring in Cam Miller to play the star position from Penn State, and I think that he's a natural fit in that position. We'll see if they utilize him at cornerback as well. Jet Elad comes in from UNLV, 84 tackles last year, 6 passes defended, 1 interception. He is someone who has transferred a couple times now and has started at both the spots that he's been at. So he is someone that has good experience. It's just going to come down to how familiar are you with this system and how are you able to get your team up to speed. Cash Sanders is the other returner, 43 tackles last year, 4 passes defended. This secondary has a solid core. It's just going to be how well do they gel together, how well do they communicate, and how do they get better as a group, because this is a group that overall needs to take a step. If this team wants to compete in the Big Ten and surprise people again, they're going to have to play better defense than they did last year. The over-under right now is set at 5.5, and a bowl game would be a solid result from this schedule, because you have some tough games that you're going to have to navigate. And when I say tough, I mean some of these are just brutal. I don't know what Rutgers did to the Big Ten schedule makers, but maybe they need to apologize, because this sometimes is going to get ugly. Ohio, Miami of Ohio, and Norfolk State should give you a 3-0 start. Playing Iowa and Minnesota after that, though, are going to provide some challenges, though they did beat Minnesota last year. So that road trip isn't as scary. Iowa is, I think, definitely beatable if you're Rutgers, but it's going to take a really good performance from the Scarlet Knights. So that's a tough one. But again, those are 5 games that could build a lot of momentum. Then a tough 2-game stretch where you have to go to Washington. That's going to be brutal. Cross country plus playing in the Husky Stadium is going to be a challenge in itself. Then you host Oregon. That's a team that is hoping to make the college football playoff this year after their disappointing season in 2024, at least the disappointing playoff finish. So that's difficult. Purdue, Illinois, and Maryland. That's not a terrible 3-game stretch. Illinois is the toughest one for sure off of those 3, but Purdue and Maryland, those are games that you could find yourself winning and feeling pretty good. And then after that is just, I don't know what happened here, but at Ohio State and Penn State, 2 teams that are looking to get back to the college football playoff. Ohio State's the reigning national champions. So overall, I think the ceiling for this group is 7-5. The hard part is that the floor is really where this could get difficult to predict. Right now, I'm going to put 4-8. I don't think they go below that because I think that they're going to be 3-0 until they get to Iowa, and they're definitely going to beat Purdue. But if everything else goes wrong, you could see 4-8. I'd hear 5-7 as the floor, but it's one less win. That's really the thing that we're going to argue about. But I don't think that that's going to happen. I think this is a bowl team. I think 6-6, 7-5 is the most likely outcome. And most of you, I think, kind of agree with that. 8% think they're going to finish 1st through 3rd in the Big Ten. That would be incredible. 15% say 4th through 8th. 9th through 13th, 41% of you say are where they're going to finish. That's probably around where they're actually going to finish. And then 36% say 14th through 18th. So it's kind of all over the place, but mostly towards the bottom or in the middle. This is a team that I think is kind of unknown right now. I don't think a lot of people know what Rutgers is actually going to be, but it'll be fun to see how they pan out, how things work together. And if this offense is better than we expect and the defense also takes a step, this team could surprise a lot of people in 2025.